Hello, and welcome back to Gunfighter Life, where we talk about being a gunfighter from a real world, first-hand Christian perspective. I am your host, Michael Melito. First and foremost, I am a Christian. God is preeminent in my life, and everything that I do in this podcast is no different. If you'd ask me who I am, I'd say first and foremost, I'm a simple man called by God to preach the good news of Jesus Christ. Now, if you want to skip through, fast forward the rest of the background and intro, you can. I'll put a link in the show notes at the bottom so you know exactly where to skip to. So, who's this guy talking? Christian, a preacher, and a professional gunfighter for pretty much all of my adult life. I grew up hunting and shooting at a very early age in a small town in the South. I joined the Marine Corps at 17, where I did 2 combat tours in the Middle East. In quintessential gunfighting MOS infantry. After my combat tours, I was an urban warfare instructor for the United States Marine Corps. Afterwards, I went to work for LAPD, where I worked some of the nastiest streets in the country. God got me through both those things, not because I'm special or better than any of the other men who didn't, but simply because He chose to show mercy on me. I also served the United States Army, both full-time and part-time National Guard. I worked patrol assignments and some more specialized assignments in law enforcement. I've also been a private contractor for the federal government. Before what I'm doing now, I was very blessed to be the commander of an SRT team, a special response team, where our primary job was to stop active shooters. I'm an FBI firearms instructor, NRA, and some other firearm certifications, more than I care to mention. Before I joined the Marine Corps, even at 17, I had started shooting and winning shooting competitions. I've been very blessed to win and compete in a ton of different shooting disciplines, anything from precision rifle to action pistol, steel challenge, USPSA, muzzleloader, archery. Been very blessed to take part in all of that. I've hunted all over this beautiful country, everything from white-tailed deer on the East Coast and mule deer on the West Coast, and, anything from bear to elk to wolf, any number of exotics I've been able to hunt and guide for. Bison and fallow deer and axis. A big part of what I do right now is a professional hunter and guide. Left the big city and the high-paying job to come out in the country and be a professional hunter and guide. Not many people today are blessed to be able to say that they've been a professional hunter and guide of things like buffalo and deer, but I am very blessed to be able to say that. So let's get into today's topic on gunfighter life. If you listen to one of the past episodes, it was entitled Lesser Known Guns. Today's episode, we're going to talk about a few of my favorite things, a few of my favorite guns, and other side things. So a few of my favorite things. There's quite a few guns that I really, really am blessed to have. My Scar 17, my 2011 STIs, Wilson Combat Beretta. I'm very blessed to have very, very great weapons. But today we're going to be talking about the Benelli M2 and why I really, really like the Benelli M2. Well, first of all, why the shotgun? Why the shotgun in general? Now, there's a whole other episode entitled Shotgun, the Forgotten Weapon. Why do I love the shotgun so much? Because of its utility and versatility. There's no other small arm that you can have that's one long gun where you can hunt doves effectively and take out grizzly bears effectively and use it for a home defense effectively. The shotgun does all that. You can take it out for a round of sporting clays just to have fun. You can load it up and keep it by your bed, and arguably the best or one of the best home defense weapons. For room clearing, for urban warfare, for urban combat, at close distance, it is unrivaled as a small arm in its devastating one-shot payload. And there are certainly more specialized guns that do one or two things better, but there's no common firearm, small arm, that does what a shotgun can do. From defending one's life and defending the life of your neighbor, to putting food on the table, the shotgun is unrivaled in its versatility. To show how lethal the shotgun is, the 12-gauge shotgun, it's often the choice for people in Canada and Alaska for polar bear and grizzly bear protection, for professionals, for guides. The 12-gauge shotgun with slugs is one of their go-tos for some of the most dangerous animals on this continent. And I know that the patrol carbines are way cooler and way snazzier, and you can put way more accessories and stuff. Well, that's probably not true, but usually people put a lot more accessories and stuff on them. And as you heard in the bio, I've been a law enforcement officer, and I've had the blessing to be able to carry full auto M16, M4s, to carry, ones with burst, to carry the Mini 14. They're all great guns, but if I was going into a house on patrol, I didn't grab the rifle generally. I grabbed the shotgun. Why? Because it is a devastating close-range weapon. Something else the shotgun allows you to do is switch from lethal to less lethal munitions, which is a rare thing. Rubber buckshot to beanbag loads, which you can buy as a civilian, and you should know your legality, and there are very limited use for those. But if you don't have to take a life, you shouldn't. It should always be a last resort, and the shotgun gives you that flexibility. From not lethal to one of the most devastating one-shot stop lethality effectiveness ever. There's a lot of new shooters today getting into shooting, and they're all about wanting to get a handgun, get a Glock 19, get an AR, this thing and that thing. And all those things are great. They're great guns. But for a new shooter, for somebody that's new to guns, I would always steer them, if you're going to have one gun, this goes for myself too, if you're going to have one gun, it should be a shotgun. For survival, for hard times. I practice with a pistol most of all. I practice with a rifle next. I practice with a shotgun less than all of them. But if I could only have one gun for who knows what scenario, I would pick the shotgun because of its practicality, because of its utility. Because the goal of being a gunfighter and being a survivalist is not to look cool and post, cool videos and how sexy your gun looks. The point is to survive. And the shotgun is probably going to do that if you have to pick one weapon for you better than anything else. Survival by defending yourself, and survival by putting food on the table. In fact, when I would go in the Sawtooth Wilderness with a Bible and a gun, trusting God to provide for me, and as they say, living off the land, but not really. You're not living off the land, you're living off God's grace. I would take a Bible and a shotgun for that very reason. With a variety of ammunition, it is the most versatile small arm. So I've told you a little bit about why the shotgun. Why in particular the Benelli M2? And I'll get into a little bit how I arrived at the Benelli M2. So I had an 870, which was a great gun. And I had a Benelli M1 Super 90, one of the old HK models, which likewise, it's a great gun. They were both great guns. And I really liked the Benelli M1. I liked its durability, I liked its reliability, I liked its simplicity for a semi-automatic repeating operating system. The only thing I didn't like was my Benelli M1 Super 90. It did not have interchangeable chokes. It had an open choke. And if you don't know about shotguns and chokes, you really should check that out on a video on YouTube. Or listen to the Forgotten Shotgun episode on Gunfighter Life. But I couldn't change the chokes, which kind of limited some of the versatility. It was a great home defense gun. It was a great defense gun. It was super accurate with slugs. With one of my favorite loads, it would put all the pellets on an IPSC man-sized silhouette target of double-aught buck at 50 yards, which is impressive, with a cylinder bore choke. But, as I said, it didn't have interchangeable chokes, and it had ghost ring sights, which is great for a lot of things. It's great for a lot of kinds of hunting. I took it hunting successfully for bear. It was a great gun, but it wasn't as versatile as a shotgun could be. And the Remington, likewise, was a great hunting shotgun, but it was a pump action.
and I like a semi-auto. And I'll get into why pump actions are good and bad a little bit. But I know people say pump actions are super reliable, super reliable. Well, they can be if you operate them super reliably. But in a gunfight, when you're scared and bloody and things are going wrong, there are plenty of instances, and I've seen plenty of people stressed out where they don't manipulate a gun the way that they should. And if you short stroke one or do something like that or rack it because you can't remember if there's a shell in it or not, then you can either lose ammo or cause a malfunction. That's a real thing. So a good, reliable semi-auto, in my opinion, is better because it takes the human error element out of it. So when I hit a point in my professional gunfighting career where I didn't want a collection of guns, I wanted a battery of guns, a useful set. I set out for the most versatile shotgun. I sold my Benelli M1. Likewise, my very nice, very beautiful Beretta over and under. At first, I got a Benelli M4, which, if you don't know, is a super tactical, ultra high speed Marine Corps combat shotgun. It is a great combat shotgun, built like a tank. And that was one of the problems. It was built like a tank. It was super heavy. Too heavy, in my opinion, to be a general purpose shotgun. And they did make other barrels. But I quickly decided that was not going to be, and it did come with interchangeable chokes, which was great, but I decided that was not going to be as versatile and as good a weapon as I could get. In fact, I liked it less than my Benelli M1 that I sold. So I sold the Benelli M4 pretty quickly after I bought it. And I had a pretty hard decision on which one to get next. I knew, I was deciding between the Benelli M3, which is super cool. It's a pump or semi-auto shotgun, a great shotgun, still being made. Kind of one of those lesser-known guns, but the Benelli M3 is really cool. I almost got one of those in stainless steel and with the marine finish or nickel, whatever the marine finish is. I thought that was super cool. But I looked at the aftermarket support, and it didn't have as versatile an options for barrels and chokes and barrel lengths and things like that. So I decided on the Benelli M2. Now the Benelli M2 is good at a lot of things. It is good for a day of shooting skeet. Is it as good as a fine, $20,000 over and under shotgun? No, but I'm not a professional skeet shooter. But it's a good gun for shooting around a skeet. It's a good gun for home defense. It is a good gun, in fact, one of the most popular guns for 3-gun, for competition shotgun 3-gun shooting. It is great. It has quite a bit of aftermarket support. So I bought the model with the 21-inch vent rib barrel, pretty general purpose, all-purpose. That in itself was super versatile. Then I also bought the rifle-sighted barrel. Not the rifled barrel with rifling. It's a smoothbore barrel with interchangeable chokes with rifle sights. And you talk about accurate with slugs, with Federal True Ball rifled slugs. That thing is ridiculously accurate to the point where if it was a rifle, I would be happy with its accuracy. I would not be upset with its accuracy. It is amazingly accurate. And that's the barrel that sits on it most of the time with an open choke, but the choke is interchangeable, and I carry spare chokes in the truck. And I also still have, in fact, one of the reasons I got inspired for this podcast, the vent rib, more traditional hunting barrel. And I keep that, and I just took it out and patterned it for turkey because turkey season just opened here. And by God's grace, I'll get to go out and take some turkey soon. Like we said, versatile. So the M2, it's way lighter than the M4. It's more options and more versatile for aftermarket support nowadays than the M1 and the M3. One of the things I love about the Benelli inertia shotguns, that semi-automatic inertia system I knew from the M1 was super reliable. And it does not throw the nasty, dirty gas back into the operating system anywhere near what a gas shotgun does. I was also looking at the Beretta 1301 and the Beretta shotguns, which are great. They're great guns. They're super reliable too. But if you're talking about like a hard times, don't know what the conditions are going to be, don't know when I'm going to be able to clean my gun, the Benelli does not throw that nasty gas into the system to operate it. It works off inertia, so the system stays cleaner. And for me, that was important. Likewise, the Benelli guns generally will come with a chrome-lined barrel, like an AK-47, and other similar military guns. I like chrome. Chrome is harder than most other finishes, and chrome doesn't rust. And for your one shotgun, hard times, tool, that's a pretty big benefit, and I like that. So the Benelli M2, super light, super handy, super reliable, super versatile, super clean operating, chrome-lined barrel, a variety of really good aftermarket support, great chokes, shoots 2 3/4 and 3-inch shells. I have no real desire to shoot 3.5-inch shells. Great for hunting, which I do. Great for protection, which, as you heard in my bio, I'm kind of all about. Great for competition shooting, which I do. That's why, personally, I chose the M2. Is that right for you? No. I don't know what's right for you. That's why I chose the M2. If your primary job is CQB, urban warfare, and you're just kicking down doors, you're not going long distances, you might want to go with the M4. If you like being able to switch between pump and semi-auto, you may get the Benelli M3. But I chose the Benelli M2, and I'm very happy with that gun. Now let's talk about a few of my favorite loads. And keep in mind, guys, I have no sponsors. I will take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the discerning and perverts the words of the righteous. These are loads that I've shot and tested and hunted with, and or all the previously mentioned. So one of my very favorite loads is number 4 buck. I have hunted deer with number 4 buck. I have shot and hunted bear with number 4 buck. It is one of my go-to. I know that the industry standard is kind of your 9-pellet double-aught buck. Double-aught buck is great, but I think number 4 buck is better. Kind of the industry standard, military law enforcement standard is 9-pellet double-aught buck. Going to number 4 buck gives you 27 pellets in the same 2 3/4-inch load. Now, generally, if you go to a 3-inch shell, let's use a Remington, for example. They have an advertised load of 15 pellet for double-aught buck. If you go to the 3-inch load for that same Remington green and yellow box, you get 41 pellets of number 4 buck. I really like the Federal buckshot. I really like the Federal flight control wad buckshot. Now, shotguns are kind of like women in that they have their own little quirks and personalities. And you have to spend time with yours to know what it likes and what it doesn't like. I generally like to run my shotgun with a cylinder choke in it, so I can shoot slugs very well, and I can shoot the buckshot with the flight control wad very well. And my shotguns really like that. Yours may like something different. One of my other favorite loads is the Federal True Ball Rifled Slug. I don't know about anybody else's shotguns, but in my testing and evaluation, those Federal True Ball Rifled Slugs are not a gimmick. They are super accurate, and the Federal flight control wads and the buckshot really do improve patterns for the situations and the guns that I'm running them in. Amazingly so. I don't have any hard numbers in front of me to look at, like pattern, like accuracy of my slug shooting in my shotgun, but it is ridiculously, impressively, remarkably accurate. For general all-around hunting, going in the woods, I might hunt a variety of small game things. I like number 6 shot. Please check with your local laws. The Fish and Game guys do not mess around. But number 6 shot can be used for a variety of different small game. Sure, if you're only going to be hunting very small doves, 7.5 might be a better choice. Or if you're only going to be hunting bigger birds like pheasant, number 5 might be a better choice. But for all around, number 6 shot is great. I'm not going to go through all the things and all the shot that I like to use. I do have a little grab and go box sitting in front of me for that Benelli that if I have to grab it and go for whatever hard time circumstance, it has a variety of different survival setup in there, so I could pretty much hunt or deal with any thing that may happen to come across. I'm not going to go through it all here. If you want to know that, go to Patreon. If you think that's worth $1 to know what my survival grab and go shotgun loadout is, For a little as $1, you can get on Patreon and you can check out some of the insider content there, how I trap coyotes, all kinds of different things on there. But just a few of my favorite loads. Like I said, I know double aught buck is a standard and nobody's going to fault you for running double aught buck, but really look at number 4 buck. Give it a chance. Now, I've told you it is my go-to shotgun. Now, what's the best value in shotguns? I'll tell you, I think it is the Remington 870. If I was picking the best value shotgun, it would be a Remington 870. I'm not talking about the ammo and gun apocalypse of right now. I'm talking about general times. You could go to Walmart or whatever big box sporting goods store and get a Remington 870 Express for $299, or maybe even less if they're running a special. $299, and you get the versatility and all the stuff that I was talking about earlier for $300 plus the cost of ammunition. You could buy several 870s before you get into the price of a Benelli. Now, for me, you heard my bio. I'm a professional shooting instructor, professional gunfighter, professional hunter. For me, it's worth the extra money. But for you, or I know how it is. I grew up poor. You might not have the money. The 870 is a good gun. I ran the 870 in LAPD and in other law enforcement applications. It was the go-to shotgun. Now, we did have some others. I did own the Benelli M1, and we did have some Ithaca model, I think, 37s. But the 870 is probably the most common law enforcement shotgun. You may be thinking the Mossberg 500 or 590 series, and they're great too. Don't get me wrong. I have tested them both side by side. Let's say the 870 fits me better and I shoot it better. So that's why I would pick the 870. I would not fault you for picking a Mossberg 500. The Maverick 88 is kind of like the budget version of the Mossberg 500. It's even cheaper still. But if you're looking like best bang for your buck, best quality for cost ratio, I would still say the 870 would be the pick. If you can and you see one at a gun show that's kind of beat up and older, get the Remington 870 Wingmaster if you can get it for a decent price. It has better components, better fit and finish. And if you can get it a little bit beat up, if you're like me, you're going to beat it up using it anyway. And if you're looking for just the cheapest versatile shotgun you can get, I would say keep your eyes open for a gun show or a pawn shop and look for one of the older, really beat up bolt action shotguns. They're kind of not as common as any other actions, but a bolt action shotgun, if they're old and beat up, generally you can get for not much more than or the same price as a single shot shotgun. And it does give you follow-up shots. And a lot of those older bolt-action shotguns, I can't remember the name of the choke, but it had a choke on it that you could literally turn and it would change chokes. Which, if you're talking about versatility, that's pretty versatile. Whereas most modern shotguns, it's a better system, but I have to sit there and carry different chokes and screw them in and out with a tool. With those old big chokes on the end of the shotgun, you can literally just turn them. So if you're looking for a very cheap shotgun that is still super versatile, those old bolt-action shotguns. Now, I was generally referring to, when we're talking about this, the 12 gauge, just because I'm so heavily and have been over time so heavily invested in 12 gauge and I have so much of it. But I would say the 20 gauge is as versatile. I would say it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The 12 gauge has a little bit more power, a little bit more payload, but a 20 gauge will kill anything in North America, and the ammunition is a little bit lighter. Generally, the cost is the same because 12 gauge is more popular and more prevalent. It generally is cheaper or the same cost as 20 gauge. So I would say you're just as good with either. The shotgun itself in 20 gauge is going to be a little bit lighter generally, and the loads themselves are going to be quite a bit lighter. So if you're hiking on foot, that's a consideration. A little bonus for you guys that don't know where gauge comes from, why bigger is a smaller number. So it's the number of round balls of that diameter that equal 1 pound. So for a 12 gauge, it takes 12 round lead balls to equal a pound. For a 20 gauge, it takes 20 round lead balls to equal a pound. Hence, a 12 gauge is larger than a 20 gauge. Alright guys, with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of Gunfighter Life. Hopefully it made you think. I'll close with one of my favorite Bible verses, Psalm 144, Blessed be the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle.
Hey guys, with that, we'll wrap up this episode. I am sincerely humbled that you listen to Gunfighter Life. If you like this podcast, you may like two others. The Alpha Male podcast, where we talk about how to be strong, dominant, alpha Christian males in today's society. And then the other one is Simple Man Sermons, if you want more of the important stuff, where we talk about our one and only God and our one and only Savior, Jesus Christ. You try Simple Man Sermons. As we touched on earlier, guys, I would love to hear your comments on the podcast. I would love to hear what your lesser-known guns that are some of your favorites are. If you want to help support the podcast, the free way to do it that really does help other people get to notice is please like, subscribe to the podcast, and put your comments in. Again, I consider this God's property, and I consider it a shared asset for all of us, so I consider this a community, so help share it with others. If you like this episode or any of the other episodes or other podcasts, and you think it's worth $1 and you'd like to support, you can go to Patreon. So check it out on Patreon. The umbrella that covers all those podcasts and this one is Good Shepherd Training. I'll put a link to the website in the show notes. That's Good Shepherd Training. You can find the Good Shepherd Training website with all the podcasts listed under it. You can find Good Shepherd Training on Instagram. You can find Good Shepherd Training on Facebook. And again, Good Shepherd Training on Patreon. Again, as I said, I am a professional shooting instructor, hunter, and guide. So if you would like to come get shooting instruction or like for me to come to you for shooting instruction, you can reach out to me on Patreon or on Instagram or Facebook or on the website and let me know you're interested in some training, or let me know you want to come hunting. If you'd like to learn to hunt, that's one of the big reasons I took this job, was to teach people how to hunt. One of the few, if only, opportunities I know where you can legally come any time of year and legally harvest a big game animal. Learn everything from how to stalk in the wilderness, to how to butcher an animal and turn it into food. And feed yourself and your family. So again, that's Good Shepherd Training. Keep in mind, the Good Shepherd, the Chief Shepherd, is Jesus Christ. All wisdom and all knowledge comes from Him. You can find all this under the umbrella of Good Shepherd Training on Facebook, on Instagram, and on the website. And if you'd like to support, on Patreon, and I would be very humbled. I appreciate all of you. Stay strong and have a blessed day.